she asked for a thumbs up if she's not watching.
Thank you.
She said 30 seconds.
I was doing welcome, you know, for the public. Now I'll go about 6 o'clock. Okay, so now let me go back to the agenda. All right, good evening, everyone. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to approve the agenda for the business meeting of February 13th, 2023.
Eric, Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Open forum. The 30-minute open forum is the time the board sets aside to hear in-person comments from the public. Comments may also be emailed in advance of the meeting prior to 4 p.m. on the date of the meeting, and state in the email if you would like your correspondence read out loud to Daphne Pearson, District Clerk at pearsond@greenvillecsd.org. This is an opportunity for residents to voice general concerns or compliments, especially about items on the agenda. However, this is not the time to register complaints about specific individuals or about items that should be addressed confidentially through the proper channels. All comments shall be addressed to the district clerk and shall be limited to no more than 5 minutes per Board Policy 2180. Please note that members of the board may not be able to directly respond to citizens' concerns during the public open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come to the podium, just turn on the microphone and tell us your name. And that's more for the record.
Is that on?
Yes.
Blue button, the
It's
gray.
blue. There we go.
You go.
All right, my name is Travis Smigel. I'm parent of 3 boys here at GCS. I also coach modified basketball and assist with JV and varsity. I came here a couple meetings ago and had asked the board for consideration for making some compensation to some assistant coaches for all sports. And my understanding is that the board has elected to do that. So I'm here tonight to say thank you for that. Coaches appreciate that. Assistant coaches in the future will appreciate that. I think it's a good thing. I think we'll get more involvement for teams and help with kids to grow and develop with our sports teams because of that. So thank you for that. And another quick little piece here, it's my understanding that he either is or will soon be selected to represent the student body on this board. So I want to say congratulations to my son, Hunter, and that his dad's pretty proud of him. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? And Daphne, do we have any emails?
No emails.
Okay. Then I'm going to move us along. 4.1, the public hearing regarding senior citizen and disabled tax exemption. Is there anyone over the public hearing? Anyone that wants to speak? Okay. Then I'm going to move us to our discussion and 5.1. And Mr. Bennett, you are going to be up for several items. So the first one is going to be an update on the capital project, please.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. And this will be a long-standing agenda item. So right now, in the beginning stages of our capital project, there won't be a lot to discuss. We have finished up our first round of conversations with stakeholders, teachers, in regards to those areas that are going to be affected by the future construction. We are happy to say that we have done some interviews with our facilities department in regards to construction manager, and you'll see on here later that we have, with the help of that group, that committee, have worked towards moving to a construction manager company. So we're excited about that.
Could you move the mic a little closer? We have one member who cannot hear us.
Okay, there we go. So we will be approving a construction manager later in this meeting. So that's the update for today on the capital project.
Thank you. And the dust collector, if you could update us regarding that, where we stand on that.
Yes, so the dust collector, as everybody knows, or if they don't know, in the wood shop has been on the agenda for a while now to have the board to consider a new dust collection system for the wood shop. There had been some concerns last spring that was brought by Jim to the architects, and as we got closer here in the springtime to take a look at, or late winter, the approval of that, we haven't gotten the answers that we were looking for. So we met, as part of the agenda setting, we met with Jim. He had furnished SEI with a number of questions in regards to the design and the output of the dust collector. And we were not satisfied with some of their responses. And so what we're doing now is we'll take that off the table for the short term. We have set up an opportunity to meet with SEI and their engineer, along with Jim, potentially Duncan, Tracy, to really sit down and have a conversation. It's going to be on March 2nd to really put everything out there. I think what we need to do is to get players in the room to discuss what we can and can't do in regards to that system. I think flexibility is a big piece to that room. Cost obviously is a big piece to that room as well. So I'm excited that we can get Jim's expertise in front of the people at SEI and their engineer to really talk through what is going to be best for that room and what makes the most sense as far as budget goes. So that'll be on March 2nd, I believe, at 3 o'clock.
Thank you.
Just a question on that, Mike?
Sure.
Glad to hear that there'll be a meeting. I think a discussion hopefully will really help to get Jim the information he needs and address any concerns. Does that mean that SCI is now being responsive? Are they getting back to you or whoever it is at the school in a reasonable amount of time now? Because I don't have the timeline clear in my head, but it seems like there was a pretty substantial period where they weren't quick to respond with answers or requested information.
I am happy with the response in this situation to a call for a meeting. They recognize the importance of doing this sooner rather than later, considering the monies that we have set aside for this. So I'm happy with how quickly they've responded. We tried to get the meeting earlier. I think we had a hard time with schedules trying to get anything done. So when we went through, we were looking at potentially as early as this week. Couldn't get things lined up. So I'm happy with the responsiveness at this point.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. And one follow-up, SCI is the architect on the capital project also?
Correct.
So, I think everything we should talk about is important for the dust collector, but going into the capital project as that ramps up, I think it's important for there to be a clear communication to them, or that they have a clear expectation, or understanding of our expectation, sorry, I can't talk, it's Monday, a clear understanding of our expectation that whether it's the program manager that we hire for you, or if it's a question from the board or someone, that it needs to be addressed in a timely manner. It sounds like now we're in a position where hopefully that will be done, but going into a much larger project, I think it's going to be really problematic if it doesn't continue in that way.
I would agree, and I think the insertion of a construction management company into this process, that really is that third set of eyes taking a look at making sure that SEI is doing what they need to do, the general contractors are doing what they need to do, is really going to be helpful. So I'm looking forward to the project and working with both those groups to make sure that we get the answers we need when we need them, and that when we are talking about the project as a design and then implementation, that we get any questions we need answered quickly. So,
Thank you.
Mike, are we on a deadline for that? Is there a cutoff date for when we have to have this done by, the dust collector?
There is no set deadline right now. I think one of the things that we were concerned about was making sure that we were able to get everything set and ready so they could begin construction over the summer and get it into, have it ready for the start of the school year next year. I don't believe that we'll be able to hit that deadline right now. I think that there is some concern about, obviously with anything with construction, there's shortages, supply lines are certainly an issue. So this is gonna set us back a little bit, but at the end of the day, one of the things that I wanna make sure that we are is we're being economical with the way this is gonna be designed, both from the budgetary standpoint, but also moving forward, looking forward to, again, the flexibility that we could potentially have in that classroom.
And I think that the flexibility to me is a key point and obviously a trade-off with the cost of having some flexibility, because as with anything in construction, it always is a trade-off. So I do appreciate that, but at the same time, if this is a unit that potentially we would have for 10 to 15 years, then I think flexibility, some flexibility is needed, because we don't know what our needs are going to be further down the line for that. And then the other thing I'd just like to mention, if anyone feels that questions are not being answered, then please speak up, so everyone can work together to ensure that we are getting answers. We may not like the answers, but at least we can get the answers for that. So I just wanted to say that. Is that it then for the dust collector?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to mention, if anyone has not noticed, we moved the discussion before the action item. So we've made a change to the agenda, just kind of in the format. Part of the reason for that, we will try it several months, see if it flows. But it seemed to make more sense to have the discussion around certain items before we then proceed to action items. So that was one of the reasons that I made that change. Okay, so hopefully it works, and if not, we can always change it again. 5.3, the fire and EMT tax exemptions.
Yes, a month or two ago, we were made aware of the fire and EMT tax exemption that counties and municipalities can take a look at in regards to being able to offer their community members. One of the things that we realize, being in a school district that has 11 towns, that crosses 2 counties, there's a lot of unanswered questions in regards to how do we determine community members who may work in one area and in one county, and how them being a part of that county's volunteer fire program, how that affects our taxpayers. So one of the things that we've got to take a look at, and I think it's going to be a pretty big job for us to do, and Janet will be able to do that, but as we're working on both capital project and budget right now, it's difficult to see how this is going to play out for the rest of the taxpayers. If the board decides to make this taxes exemption a possibility, I want to make sure that the Board of Education has enough information to know how this is going to spread out to other community members. So we're just going to kind of delay that right now as we research and get more information on how this will affect our tax base as a whole.
And one of the items our understanding so far is it is not based on income. So unlike the senior citizen and disabled individuals, which is based on income and has a cap, this would not be. So Duncan, you had a question?
Well, I just want to make sure we all understand.
Please.
I want to make sure we all understand. Effectively, we're putting it off for a year.
I
I think
that we have answers to be able to.
And that, I'm not arguing with that. I'm saying I just want to make sure on the record, we can't make March 1st because we don't have enough information. Now, I'm supportive of that stance. I just want to make sure everybody understands that, that's all. In other words, we can't come back next month and put it in because it won't, well, theoretically, no, we can't. Today's February, not March. So if we came back next month, it would be too late for the tax people to do their work. So I just wanted to be on the record, that's all.
I wanted to ask Janet, when does this program actually start? 'Cause I've heard it, there's approvals going on out there, but have I heard it right that it really doesn't start until 2024?
No, it's supposed to, Greene County is doing it, Albany County
When
is
does
doing
it affect, what is it effective?
this school tax year.
Oh, okay.
And then next year's county and town. Because county and town's already done this year.
Were you approached about this, Mike or Janet? From anybody that was in the fire departments?
Not I.
I have not been approached. No.
If and when it happens, see if, I'm just wondering if there's a contact person that we can ask questions of, if they would be willing to come to the best of their ability, come to the board and answer some of our questions that we might have, more localized questions. We'll have to go somewhere else to get these broader questions, as far as cross-county and cross-township, I would imagine.
Well, since the 3 counties are doing it, starting now, next year we'll be able to get all the numbers for everybody that's already applied. So right now, it's blank. We have no idea. You have to apply for the exemption by March 1st, the individuals. So we'll know after March 1st, or probably later, how many people are applying and are going to get the exemption. And then we can take that information next year and try to figure out how would it impact our taxpayers.
Same thing we did with the vets.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions or thoughts related to this topic?
I have a question and or thought. Would this be something that the taxpayers would be voting on in the budget vote, or this is just an us decision?
It would be a board resolution if you wanted to take that exemption.
Okay, 5.4 is student board member update.
Actually, Tracy, can I ask one?
Okay,
one more
before we move
question
on,
about that?
absolutely, yes. David.
Because that sparked another question for me. I was wondering, Janet, how does the county, or any taxable organization, taxing organization, how are they formulating the numbers to fit into their budget? Use is it just a guess, or?
Well, the budget, your levy is your levy, and how it gets distributed to all the towns and with the school district, I mean, how it gets distributed to all the taxpayers is by your assessed value. So if we still have to collect the amount of money that we would need for the tax levy, so our budget is equal. So what happens, like the veterans, this person who's a veteran gets the exemption, but other people have to pay for it. Other taxpayers pay for it.
Right, so we would be voting on something that,
Takes a cup of coffee from my hand and gives it to Jim.
but we wouldn't know how many cups of coffee or what that coffee costs.
We would know
Until
in general.
a year is processed.
Right.
Correct.
That was my question.
Correct.
How is the county or anybody that's already approved this exemption?
They don't do it until July. Their budget, their next thing starts in July.
I know, but they signed up to be part of the exemption. They've given their approval
Yes, they have.
blindly, in my mind.
Yeah, they have. I don't know how they did it.
All right, we'll see if we can find out more information so that we can answer some of these questions. I do like the idea of potentially having a representative or someone come and be able to speak. Mike, maybe you could follow up with Mako and who he contacted or so forth.
I do have a meeting coming up with him, so
Okay.
that can be on our agenda.
Finite time. They already know what their tax is.
Okay, maybe we don't have it. We have it on my schedule. Apparently, it's not quite on his schedule yet.
I mean, is it everybody that's?
I guess the one question I would have, and I haven't been able to find out on the EMS fire department, what the eligibility is. You know, it could be one person that signs up for the fire department this year and currently active, or is it something that they have to have 5 years, 2 years?
I have the county's law,
Okay,
Greene County's law,
okay,
that I can share with you.
perfect.
There's a minimum there. I've
Yeah.
forgotten what it is, but I think it is 5 years.
Okay. Well, that's good then. Yeah. 'Cause, I didn't know it's very hard to police if somebody's active, not if they're only for a few months. Since we have so many townships, it would be difficult in order to, I guess they would have to reapply every year if they're active for the county and the town purpose of tax, and then we would piggyback off of that once we get that information, though, I guess. So, okay, thank you.
Dave, did you have any thoughts?
Well, I'd like to, if Janet can share that document with us, but I don't think that another taxing organization, unless it's written in some other fashion, I don't think that they can set regulations for another body that also taxes. More clearly stated, the county can't tell us what to do.
That is true.
I believe that there is flexibility. We can get this out to you to have you take a look at the way it's set up.
Yeah, they have to be in the department for 2 years.
2?
Yeah. I can share this. I'll send an email out.
So more to come on that. Now, Mike, I'm going to turn it over for the student member update.
Well, Hunter's dad kind of stole my thunder a little bit, so.
We'll shoot him on the way out the door.
No, but as the board had reached out and wanted to get the process rolling to have a student representative sit on the Board of Education as a non-voting member, to really provide some insight into what's going on in the schools and things like that. We finally got, it was something that had to be voted on by our community in order for us to be able to do this. And so the community voted when we had our capital project in December to allow us to move forward with this process. So working with the Board of Education and with administration at the high school, we really put together a process in which we felt was fair in regards to how we wanted to go about this process. So process went pretty smoothly, I think, although I do understand that the one and only applicant for this put in at about 11:56 p.m. before the midnight deadline. So our kudos for being up that late and doing everything you do to get that in. So we did follow through with the process, because one of the things we want to make sure that we do is we understand that moving into next year that we can work through a process, know we feel good about that process, and be able to move forward. So we will start for next year pretty quickly, really, to get that in place. But what we'll do now is we will, at the next board meeting, have a resolution on the board to appoint Hunter as a student representative, Board of Education member that will carry his term through the end of the school year in June. So we will invite Hunter back to be a part of this. There was a lot of discussion on the responsibility. will take to be part of this board in regards to time commitment. And one of our fears were, this community has some kids who are involved in a lot. Hunter may be the poster boy for that. He is involved in so many different things, and he does them all well. I've gotten a chance to know Hunter a little bit, and I'm really excited about him being a part of this process. So, Hunter, congratulations, and thank you for stepping up and being a part.
All right, next, for discussion purposes, we have, as New York transitions to EV buses, then it's creating some situations that where we have to forward plan significantly. So at the last meeting, we had a discussion about 2 vans, not 2 buses, that we agreed we could provide a non-binding letter of intent. But now there are some additional needs, so with that, I'm going to turn it over.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've learned from our last bus proposition is that the shortage and the backlog of supplies and materials to build the buses have caused great delays in the replacement of our current buses. Our fleet is getting older, as you know, and putting on a lot of miles, and what we thought we were going to be able to do is have a couple of buses in this last proposal to us by the end of August. That soon turned into November, December, and I believe we don't have any of the buses that we had ordered way back. So what we put forward is, in working with our team and our bus sales, is that letter of intent puts you on a list in order of, as that letter of intent comes in to the manufacturers of the buses. So this does not in any way change our proposition or our cycle. All this letter does is put us on a list. And what we're looking to do is to get on that list sooner rather than later, because the later we go, the farther down on that list and the longer the delay of getting our new buses in becomes. Just as an example, from our last meeting to this meeting, I believe First Student Bus Systems put in an order for 200 buses. So, and that's just one company that we know about. So that puts us further behind. So what we're really looking to do is get the board's permission to put that letter of intent in now. It'll be for that 24-25 next replacement bus cycle. It doesn't change anything else that we're doing. We just want to make sure we can get on the list. So.
And it is non-binding, correct? So obviously dependent upon the vote,
Budget.
the bond vote.
Correct. Yep. The bond vote is always, all the letters of intent have that stipulation that if the community votes it down, then we aren't tied to it.
So then is everyone pretty much in agreement or for that? Okay, I think you can issue it.
All right. Thank you.
5.6, so some parental letters.
Yes, as the board is aware, there has been a couple of emails that have come across from concerned community members in regards to a bill that's been in the Assembly, I think, for some time now, in regards to the mandate of a COVID vaccine for students added to the list of required vaccinations that students would need to have in order to come to school, into a public school. So the board had been asked whether or not to, if they would be willing to write a letter to the governor's office in support of parent choice. And what I wanted to do is just to have some discussion around, what people's thoughts are as a public institution. Where are we falling down on this conversation on this topic?
Initially, my thoughts that if we could facilitate parents writing the letters, I think that could be very effective. as far as approaching our legislators and so forth. I think that that can have an even stronger impact. So I would encourage parents to write letters. That's my starting point.
Any other thoughts?
I think as far as what the board's role is, I mean, we're, I think, chartered to deal with the educational aspects of this district. And I appreciate, being that I'm a parent also, that if I have an opinion, I should take it to my legislator. So I don't think the board should be writing the letter, or even the school district writing a letter. I think this is a parent writing letter campaign, and I think that we'll stick with doing education.
And I think, for us, although it's a hot topic, I think for us as a school board, we're a representation of our community. I think sometimes we need to be careful on, are we communicating for the few or for the greater percentage? So I think sometimes in these areas, I think it's better to come straight from the parents to the legislator, because it's tough for us to get all that information to make sure we are representing the majority.
I align myself with the remarks Eric made and Jim. The only discussion I've heard in the community is, what are you guys going to do? Are you going to write a letter? And I said we would have a discussion on it. But I think there are different professionals who understand the value of this, and there are a lot of people who want to make sure that when their kids go to school, they go to a safe environment. And if the CDC says vaccines are required or good, and the state legislature says they're required for attendance at school, then that's the way it should be, in my opinion. There are alternatives if you don't want your children. I mean, we've had, I don't know how many vaccines now, but I remember when my kids had to go to school, even in college, they had to show that they were vaccinated for certain things. So I'm not supportive of writing a letter from the Board of Education, but I am supportive, as Eric said, if a parent wants to write a letter, that's certainly their prerogative.
I think one of the things that we could do, if a parent wanted to drop off any letters, we can ensure that it is taken up to the Capitol and so forth, I think, so that with postage or any other elements are not a hindrance. I think that the school would be willing to do that. Okay, all right, so now, we have a request for a new textbook. This is under discussion, I guess so. All right, so we have a new textbook this is for construction, actually. The walls, staircases, and there are workbooks associated with it. The one question I had is, which course is this for?
Construction for Mr. Kerner.
Yeah, Mr. Kerner's construction class.
Okay.
Yep.
So as with always, we do have a sample of the workbook and the textbook, if anyone would like to view it. And then normal procedure is that we would approve it at the next meeting for that. David, do you have a question?
I do have a question. My question is, why only 6? Maybe if Mike doesn't know the answer, maybe Todd does, or maybe Daphne. Maybe Daphne knows the answer.
So I had spoken with Mr. Kerner to get more information on this. So it's a small class. 6 of the books come with a workbook, 6 come as a bundle, the workbook and the calculator. There's no need to have 12 calculators. Students work together so they can use a calculator between 2 students. That's why it's only for 6 workbooks and
Oh, so
6
it's a
is a
package
combo.
of
So
6,
it's
and he
basically
doesn't need
12.
12.
Right.
Because I was thinking if he loses, somebody doesn't return the book, and then he has a class of 7 the following year.
That's all he asked for.
Yeah. that-
So, in seeing it right now, and seeing the one with the calculator, or 6 with the calculator, 6 without, so I'm speculating, which is always bad, I get that. I'm gonna speculate that the calculators will stay with the school and that next year they'll just order more books and study guides.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to write in on that. But it might be.
Well, my only concern is that,
Explains how to do it.
I mean, if that's what he's figured, then that's fine, but if the price of a textbook is scaring me, then that's actually cheap for a textbook.
It's
So
12 bucks.
if he needs more, 10, build in some redundancy or hopefully class enrollment increases, or if one doesn't get returned, then you don't have to order a whole new issue.
Okay. I can follow up with him
Yeah.
if we have to increase that.
And I do like it in the description. I think that the more that the students can understand how to take a concept and an idea and bring it down to, okay, now what is this actually going to cost and so forth, I think is a very important skill to be developed. And also, as we look for students that are looking to make a career out of this, then this is a wonderful opportunity to have some materials that they could potentially use later on in their business. For, I know I use costing sheets all the time, down to 15-minute increments of labor, so, okay. Couple of quick reminders, then we have February 27th, we have our second budget meeting. Then March 4th, there is a BOCES Regional Board Workshop, which is on a Saturday from 9 to 12, it usually is. If anyone's interested in that, please RSVP to Daphne. I don't know when the deadline is, but I think I saw an email.
I think I read the 17th.
So, thank you. Okay, and then our budget workshop number 3 is on March 6th. And we also have the, is this the Greene County, April 5th? Mike, that we have a meeting on April 5th, the annual meeting of the board, this is the
order.
the BOCES one, okay. The April 5th meeting then is the past hors d'oeuvres. Now I remember, so this is one that has been virtual for several years, but is now back in person, and it's also an opportunity for board members to interact with the students, since the students actually prepare several of the items that are served during the meeting and so forth. So it's a wonderful opportunity for students to be able to take their knowledge, their culinary skills, and actually apply it then in a business setting, and where they have to deliver a certain amount of hors d'oeuvres within a certain time frame and everything else. It really is a wonderful opportunity for that. So please let Daphne know by 3:16 if you'll be attending. All right, now I'm going to move us on to the action items. All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of January 9th, 2023?
Let's combine that with the 21st too. I normally do that.
Oh, and I will combine that with a motion to approve then both the minutes from the January 9th as well as the January 21st, 2023 meetings.
Okay, I have Eric and Jim. Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the finance reports for the month ending January 31st, 2023.
Eric, Dave, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to accept the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Angela, I need a second. Jim, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
Eric and Angela?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You're jumping the gun. All right, I need a motion to approve the resolutions to be placed on the ballot for the annual vote and election, May 16th, 2023.
Duncan and Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the resolution dated February 13th, 2023 of the Board of Education of the Greenville Central School District authorizing a proposition to be presented to the voters at the annual district meeting.
Eric, need a second? Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the senior citizens and disabled tax exemption sliding scale.
Jay and Eric?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the tuition rates for the 22-23 school year.
Angela and Eric?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to award the fuel bid through DCMO BOCES bid process to Marabito Energy Products for diesel fuel, Botini fuel for the fuel oil tank wagon, and fuel oil motor transport, and Paraco LP for the LP propane gas tank wagon.
Eric, I need a second. Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
How can I get those prices?
I
I'm
know.
sorry, Duncan, was there? Okay.
How can I get those prices?
Well, the prices did come down compared to last year, so. I need a motion to appoint the Schoolhouse Construction Services LLC for construction management services for the elementary and high school capital project.
Eric, I need a second. Duncan, thank you.
All in favor, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to award bid to Midstate Industries LTD in the amount of $592,000 for work related to the outdoor classroom development and renovation project.
Eric, I need a second. Jim?
Any discussion?
I just have a question. Maybe I haven't heard it referred to this as the outdoor classroom development. What is that?
This is the one that's going to be outside of here. It's been presented several times. We were using federal funds for this particular capital project.
For the pavilion area? Okay.
Yes, the one out here.
Not a pavilion. Outside the high school library here, not a pavilion. It's concrete with a shading structure and also at the elementary courtyard.
Okay.
It's
I just
two
wasn't sure
places.
because I
And it
don't
comes out
remember
of the
it being-
federal money, the art money.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And you did the tour, right?
I was there.
Yeah. Oh, you were there? Oh.
I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and the Anderson Center for Autism for the period of January 11th, 2023 through June 30th, 2023.
I've got Angela and Eric.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the senior trip to Mystic, Connecticut.
Eric and Angela.
Any discussion?
Only one question. Is there any allocation for hardship? Student can't afford it?
I believe it was under the, maybe the executive. I think there is some financial assistance for some kids that have a hardship.
Yeah, I'll look into that for you. I'm pretty sure, I can't imagine we're not letting kids go because of
Right.
there's a financial hardship.
And it would be touchy for them, I understand that. representative.
I appreciate that.
I believe in the past, we've found ways to make sure that every student who's eligible to go goes. So, I'm with you. Okay. And come see me.
Absolutely. My understanding, we can confirm that no student has been prevented from being able to attend. The nice thing is participation is extremely strong. How many students? 60 is approximately? Yes, approximately 60 students have provided a deposit, which is almost twice the rate of even pre-COVID. So it's really nice to see that the whole class is participating at that level.
60 out of, what's our class size now for the seniors?
I gotta imagine we're close to 100, between 90 and 100. I'm not sure off the top of my head what that number is.
Okay.
So again, I think that's a pretty solid group of kids who are expressing interest in going. I think that's great.
I visited a very lovely school last week. They graduated 12 kids. But it was a beautiful school. Reminded me of my education.
Dave, if I may, under executive, under that action item, there was an explanation here. Additionally, private donations have been offered to help pay for students who have financial concerns. So
Okay.
it's-
Any other questions related to it? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to appoint membership for committees.
Eric, I need a second. Jim, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. So does anyone have any input items for discussion at a future meeting? Suggestions, possibilities? Duncan?
I really would like an update on the weight room. How it's being used,
Fitness center?
and maybe something from the coaches. Doesn't have to be a verbal report, but maybe some kind of an outline. Does wrestling use it? Does basketball use, who uses it, and to what degree do they find the value in it?
I think that way back when, if I remember correctly, there was also discussion about being able to have community members use it. So if we could include that in there, like the cost implications, or understand the cost implications of that and so forth.
Yes, during our next budget meeting, we will have some breakdown of the addition of what it would cost to add supervision and opening that up, as well as other areas that we will take a look at, including with the addition of sport coaches would be different asks, things like that. So we'll be able to present that with our next budget update, some of those prices, what the cost is. But we can certainly get who's using that, those facilities now, into what level.
Additionally, if you're done, similar to that, I've been asked, I think years ago, it used to be allowed for community members to come and walk in the schools because it was inside space where they can, I think some elderly groups approached me and sent me some, where they used to be able to walk in the elementary school and do laps in the elementary school, whereas right now during the winter time it's tough for them to get out. I told them I'd just mention it, but I wasn't sure how things were with COVID and the other protocols that we have. If we can, they're interested in doing it again.
Right. Did they mention when that was permitted? Was it prior to COVID? Was it, I see some prior to COVID. And any particular time? I'm just curious.
So people would visit the elementary school in the evening, often around 7 o'clock on a specific day. I think that was done as a standing, there was a sign-in book that people used for it, but they did it almost like as a community event, even though the hours were flexible. Kind of like people would reserve it as like volleyball club, for example, in the community. It was reserved for that purpose, but people came on their own schedule between certain hours.
Tracy, it was also it was part of our continuing education program. That was one of the classes, and then people could come, I think it was Monday through Thursday,
Yeah.
and they would go after school and walk till like 6 o'clock at night or something
And
like that.
why was it shut down?
One, it was lack of interest. We didn't have anybody filling out the book, so we really didn't know who was in the schools. And I think part of it might have been because they were there at night, just making sure that the buildings were secure, and so, and COVID was another reason.
Okay, we will add that, and we can definitely look into it and kind of better understand and so forth. Any other topics for future consideration?
Could I just add one? I know I'm not a board member, but I thought it would be a good
Go for it, Mike.
opportunity to talk about it.
Sneaky.
Yeah. I think in recent days, it has come to our attention some concerns around some of the books that we have in our library. I want to, for a future topic, I think one of the things that we want to look at as administrative group is our process for taking a look at books, and within that process, what are the protocols that we can put into place in order to hear community concerns around some of the books that we have. So I want to make sure that we put together a process in which we are looking at those books, and then how are we going to address the situation in that. So I think that bears some conversation moving forward. I think from an admin team committed to taking a look at that process currently internally, but then sharing that and talking with the Board of Education on how we want to move forward with that process.
Yes, speak on that while the topic is brought up.
We are going to be going to the open or closing open forum, and at that point you can speak.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Any other topics? All right, then I'm going to move us to the closing open forum, and please note it's the same guidelines as stated during the first, I think the two being a 5-minute limit per board policy, and members of the board may or may not be able to actively engage or respond, but we are here to listen. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come up and just state your name for the record. Thank you.
Okay, so,
Push the
Can you
button
use
there,
the
blue.
microphone? Yep.
and I'm super short. Is it on?
Is it blue?
Is the blue light on?
Say something.
Hi.
Yes, it's on.
Okay, so I'm Amanda Calvo. I want to start by saying that I just came from a private meeting with Ms. Dubois and Mr. Berkshire. It was incredibly productive, so I appreciate their time. The reason which I much struggled with coming here after that meeting, because my intention was to not, was just to sort of notify all of you on the board, and so that collectively, in their busy days and your busy days, we could get together and everybody will be now advised on what's going on. I was aware through parents who contacted me that the superintendent the issues were brought up to him. So my ask here today is that you expedite this process. Our world is pretty interesting, right? It's got a lot of things going on, a lot of changes, people are different. In my personal beliefs, I believe that our kids' sexuality has been put first and foremost, and it's been made to think that that's important, and it's not. We were taught that privacy was privacy, and we should share only our private things with people we trust. But neither here nor there, that's not our world. But we do have a duty, and my duty is to parent, and it's almost as though your duty is to co-parent, right? My children are with me half the time, and they're here half the time. And so we need to do better. We need to do better at figuring out what boundaries we have. This issue has been brought up in the past, and that's what enticed me to come to the meeting today. Specifically, your response to the book, sir, was every child has a right to read what they choose. If their parents don't like it, they could simply just return them to the school. Not good enough. Okay? Not good enough. I've given them quite a few suggestions and solutions on how to fix this, one of them being very simple. You send me home a packet, parent permission slip for controversial books. Stop looking at the list that's been sent to you. You can't possibly go through it all. Start looking at the books that have been banned, start researching why, and start there. I'm going to finish this excerpt. I don't think people have a really good understanding of what's in your library. My heart immediately started to race. Nervously, I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "You." I laughed at first, but then I told him I had never been a bottom. He looked at me and said, "Well, that's about to change tonight." I was extremely nervous. There was so much fear, as there is with most things for the first time, but this was my ass. I was struggling to imagine someone inside of me, and he was large, but I was going to try. I had previously taught someone who has clearly enjoyed it before. He had anal sex long before I ever came along. He knew what to expect. I didn't. I was an avid porn watcher, and I really knew that sex previously was painful, or at least that's what it played up to be on camera. Nervous and drunk. I listened, and I got on my stomach, and slowly he inserted himself in me. It was the worst pain I had ever felt in my life. I then added more lube and tried again, which felt better, but not by much. I'd continue this book, but you get the point. This does not depict a healthy relationship. He states he's drunk, guys. We teach our children boundaries, to make good choices in sound mind. This is not okay. I'm going to finish with this one last thought. From the Department of Justice, federal law makes it illegal to distribute, transport, sell, ship, mail, produce, and/or provide, just to be clear, any obscene matter. Convicted offenders will face fines and imprisonment. This means, and not a privy to, although the law can be general, it will criminalize any distribution of pornographic material to minors. I could continue by reading the definition of porn, but I'm pretty sure we all know it. I don't want my children reading this, and let me suggest to you, you're going to want to know about my family and where I stand as far as who's gay and what they stand for. I urge you to find out about my family. This is not what it is about. If my son came home with a magazine that was Hustler in his book bag, and I said, "Where'd you get it?" and he said, "School," I'd be like, "Oh, hell no." I don't want homosexual or heterosexual, descriptive, abusive language given to our children. I don't care if it's a man and a woman or a man and a man. I don't care. You don't have the right to let this be given to children behind parents' backs. Start with the ban list. You currently possess at the top of the list books that are banned. Find out why. Why? And find out, and each one of you dig down into your integrity. I'm referring to you because the video was sent. Would you want me to read this to your grandkids without you knowing?
I don't have grandkids.
Don't be a wise ass.
I'm not, that's the truth.
Nobody has the right to give this to my children but me. And I promise you, you will never have a parent up here going, "How dare you not have that book in your library? What's the matter with you?" Why? Because their child can go home, they can ask for the book, and their parent can possess it for them. Now, one of the suggestions, put these books in a room, get parent permission slips. I am not against freedom of speech. This is a very talented writer. He had something important to say, and everybody should be allowed to read it. But you don't have the right to make that decision for other people's children. Put it away. Get a permission slip. You want to talk about kids feeling included? Use my tax-paying dollars to have an LGBTQ meeting after school. Soccer's great, right? Why is soccer great? Because they're like-minded kids who join after school, who have the same interests and support each other. Have a group. Give these kids some education. This isn't education. Talk about loving relationships. Is it okay if I feel the way I feel? Hell yeah, it is. Give them something positive. Knowing how to perform anal sex on somebody is it's not productive. Do better. Be transparent. And I thank you for the effort that's forward, and I look forward to a solution. My past with the school hasn't been all that great, so I hope this really turns it around. But right now, you have on order a graphic novel called Gender Queer. I don't care if it was gender man on woman. It's literally showing two boys giving each other oral sex in pictures. Pictures, guys, a graphic novel. If my kids came to school on Monday morning and said after Sunday dinner, Mommy and Daddy watch porn with me in the living room, I'd have CPS on my door. Think about what you want for your own kids. Think about what you would want somebody to read your children. Do better. Stop passing lists off. Our world is too controversial to be letting things slip through the cracks that could get into the hands. There's a difference between good education and bad. This is bad. This young man is performing oral sex in here on his cousin. They're drunk at a sleepover while their parents are drunk downstairs. This isn't love. This is porn. Just for the record, you guys don't have 50 Shades of Grey. So if you want to put this in there, let's get them all in there then, huh? Thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
So this evening I wanted to let the board know about something exciting that's happening at the elementary school. Many of you know that in 2020, when everything started to change around us, we were very fortunate that our fifth graders had already gone to Nature's Classroom that year. And after that, we tried to, when we couldn't go to Nature's Classroom, bring a Nature's Classroom program to us. We had mixed results with that process, but it was something that we could do at a time when we couldn't provide that opportunity for our boys and girls. And since schools have been more open and community groups and organizations have been more open, we've been trying to reinstate the Nature's Classroom program. And two things have happened. One, the site that we absolutely loved decided they were no longer going to participate with the Nature's Classroom program in Beckett, Massachusetts, so that door closed. Simultaneously but separately, the Nature's Classroom organization split into two different organizations, Nature's Classroom and Nature's Classroom New England. And so Mr. Hostash, who's here tonight, who's been our Nature's Classroom coordinator for a number of years, and I began looking at what were the options. And we did some exploring on paper, through the computer, and then this year we were actually able to find a site that would be willing to host school groups again in the not too far away geographic space. And so we found a site in Willsboro, New York, up near Lake Placid, called Poco McCready. Camp Poco McCready they've been around for over 100 years. They were established in 1905, and they run a full summer camp program similar to what the YMCA does at Camp Chimney Corners. They used to run a full school program as well, just like we were working with Nature's Classroom. However, since COVID, they've decided to turn much of their attention away from that, except they're willing to do 6 weeks each fall for schools and organizations that are interested in partnering with them. We reserved a week with them and then said, may we come visit? And so Mr. Hostash and myself and Mrs. McElway went up to visit the site, and it looks like it'd be a lovely place to bring our boys and girls to. And so we are hoping to be going up there for now, but the program only, no matter how much pleading we did, they are not willing to open up in the springtime. So for this current group of fifth graders, for example, they will not open for them. But of their 6 weeks, they were able to give us 2 spots. And so we reserved a spot for this year's fifth graders, who will be sixth graders, and next year's fifth graders to go as well. And so it's an opportunity for us to bring this year's group of students and then they get on the cycle of planning for future years. Their program is very similar to what we've enjoyed about Nature's Classroom. They tend to focus a little bit less on some of the scientific inquiries, a little bit less, and more on the community building and experience of the opportunities of our own Adirondack State Park. And so they have boating programs, which because we are able to go in the fall, we can participate in because the lake's not frozen, like when we go to Nature's Classroom. They have local hiking. They have a remarkable climbing center, both indoor and outdoor climbing. They have low ropes courses, a lot of opportunities for boys and girls. So we look forward to bringing you more information about that. We're going to be starting to communicate with parents through parent nights, so parents can be involved because this is something familiar, but also something new. So we're very excited about that and look forward to bringing more information to you as we go forward. So, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, then if I could have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss personnel matters concerning the employment of a particular person or persons. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.